You lovely viewers have given me a way to self-torment this time, huh, Sinjal and Jim Bob? Now, these guys gave a fun-sounding challenge, so let's give it a try. Can we beat Final Fantasy VII using only enemy skills? And if I'm perfectly honest, I feel like this is going to be torture. Enemy skills are extremely expensive on MP, healing and reviving is also extremely expensive with MP, and there's only like 2 decent abilities that can be used endgame, but the MP limitations means they absolutely cannot be spammed. I'm going to have to map out a lot of damage to MP cost this run, I feel like, to make the most of my MP. And like all challenges, I'm writing the script as I go, so I have no idea what's going to happen here, just like you. So let's talk rules, shall we? Rule 1. Enemy skills only. This means all healing, reviving, and attacking must be done using an enemy skill. Manipulate can be used only to learn new enemy skills. Any other action is banned. Rule 2. All materia can be used for supportive abilities such as elemental on armor, steel as well materia, and normal materia for stat boosts. Rule 3. No items allowed in battle. This means I can't even heal my HP in battle until after the gold saucer, and I can't restore my MP in battle until I get the high wind. The only exception to this rule is using a single Mimit Green on a Chocobo to learn Choco Buckle. And that's because rule number 4, I must perfect my 3 used enemy skill materia before I can consider this challenge as being complete. And with that, we have our rule sets made. So let's begin the run. We'll start off by naming Cloud and Barret after our lovely Patreon supporters, and then make them criminals by blowing up a power plant. Once back in 7th Heaven though, and we have the materia lesson. It lets us change our materia. Now we can save the game and mod in enemy skill with Metro Magic already on it, as per Jim Bob's rule set. This is the only action we can use throughout the entirety of Midgar. Only one character can use it, and we have no healing. It costs 8 MP and only has 11 power. Not amazing. Next up is a little grind at the train graveyard. We just want a few ethers here, and a couple of levels on Cloud won't hurt either. Once we get some ethers and levels, we move on at level 11 and get to Airbuster, the first proper boss this run, and things go badly. I ran out of MP extremely quickly, and I'm only doing 60 damage a hit to him. So by the time I ran out of MP, he still had over 700 health left. This was not even close. So I need to reload a save and grind some more. I try again at level 17, and this time I'm doing 80 damage a hit. Progress! I eventually managed to kill Airbuster, but Cloud had just 60 HP and 3 MP left at the end of the fight. This was so close, it's unreal. I'm now beyond nervous about the Halligunner and Motorballer fights. Then we meet Aerith, and sorry Lazarus, I know you supported me a long time. This is just your unlucky position in the coffee list. It could be worse though, like how Delsus has to spend a romantic evening with the Don in Wall Market. The next morning after their lovely evening, we barge in and we have the Apps fight in the sewer. Thanks to his lower magic defense compared to Airbuster, we managed to do a nice 150 damage a hit, and to help us even further, he also likes hurting himself. These two things combined means I end up killing him pretty quickly, while only losing a little more than half my total HP. Hopefully this happens the same way in the upcoming Reno fight. Let's see, shall we? And I got some game overs instantly. His very first attack was to trap Cloud in a pyramid, and the only way out of it is to hit it. But only Cloud has enemy skill, so we lost in remarkably boring but quite hilarious fashion. So, attempt number 2. But it happens again. This time I was able to hit him a few times first, but he still got me. I need 5 or 6 hits with Metro Magic to kill him. I need to get lucky here for him to not target Cloud. This fight is absolutely possible other than needing some good RNG, which I absolutely did not get on the 3rd attempt, where Cloud got locked up instantly again. Same with the 4th attempt. This repeated all night long, and honestly is one of the worst things I hate about challenge runs. When you can do something easily, but are restricted by RNG. And look, it becomes an infinite, never-ending nightmare. Eventually though, we got through it and Reno died. Then, after a short, rather easy break in the world's most powerful company's headquarters, we fight Hojo's experiment, which couldn't poison me due to the star pendant, and other than that doesn't really have much of anything to worry about, and gets taken out surprisingly easy. And of course, pick up the enemy skill materia dropped in the cage thingy. It's useless until we escape Midgar, but at least once we do, we can have a second unit able to deal damage. Next boss is the problem though, Halligunner. I managed to get through the first stage, but Red, who has the highest magic stat for me, only had 80 HP left by that point and 47 MP. I need about 9 casts to take out phase 2. So by that point, even if he didn't hit Red again, I wouldn't have had the MP to kill it. But MP wasn't a concern since Red died first, so we need to reload a save and do some grinding again. After a few levels, Aerith becomes my new number 1 for the gunfight, and we take phase 1 out pretty quickly thanks to the extra damage, and we have decent HP and MP left as well. Phase 2, however, manages to murder Barret and Red. Thankfully, Aerith manages to take it out on the next turn, resulting in quite a close shave. Rufus, well, it's Rufus. He puts up barrier and deals 20 damage a hit. He died in 3 turns. Now, onto Motorballer after the worst minigame ever, and Metro Magic is doing 300 damage from Cloud. So it actually turns out much easier than even Halligunner, which I was not expecting at all. Now that we're outside of Midgar, we can finally learn Metro Magic on our other enemy skill materia by fighting custom sweepers in the dark, barren area around Midgar, which we got cursed with. They really did not want to use it on Aerith, who had my second enemy skill materia. We do the calm LSD trip, and then it's off to the Chocobo Ranch. However, just outside, we get into a battle with Moose, and wait for them to use the level 4 suicide ability on us, so we can learn that on our enemy skill. This took freaking forever though, and I even got so close to a game over waiting for it to happen. And now that we have that, we can use the one single item we're allowed to all run. So we buy a Mimigreen from the Chocobo Ranch, equip the Chocobo lore materia, and then get into a fight with Chocobos. We need a level 16 Chocobo, and we don't even need Sense to tell what level it is. If it spawns with 2 Levicrons or 2 Alpha Dunks, it will be level 16. Basically, if it spawns with 2 Elephants or 2 Ostriches, then it's the correct level. Throw a Mimigreen at it and then use level 4 Suicide on it, and then it will counter with Chocobuckle and Flee. So I have both enemy skill materia on Aerith for this, so I can learn it on both at the same time. And no, we're not going to power it up before anybody thinks that. Now, we have the troublesome part though, getting Beta. It's gonna be difficult to get it and kill Zolom with only enemy skills right now, so I'm only going to attempt getting it. If we can, then great. If not, then we just have to wait until later. Again, we keep both enemy skill materias on Aerith since only she will be able to survive Beta, and then I stick elemental and fire materia in her armor and use tranquilizers to give her sadness, which reduces the damage I take by 1/3. Then we just have to drop Zolom by 2500 HP before it will start countering with Beta. Sounds easy, right? Well, no, because Aerith got ejected on my first attempt, and then the exact same thing happened in the second attempt as well, and of course, again on the third attempt. So I say screw it and mix my approach. I give one enemy skill to Cloud as well. This way, hopefully Aerith does not get ejected. And we got it. In fact, even Red survived the beta, which took me by surprise. So now I just swap the enemy skills around and do it a second time to learn beta on the other materia, which proceeds even smoother due to the fights being faster. The only downside now though is the fact this is kinda gonna be my strongest attack for a huge portion of the game. It might seem OP right now, but it falls off heavily later. Not to mention it's fire elemental, which means enemies can resist it and even immune it. This makes me super concerned about some fights later. But for now, we have the Mithril Mines, where we can learn flamethrower enemy skills from Arc Dragon. It's not very good though, since we have beta, but we also see how beta isn't going to be super amazing since we see the first mob that absorbs it. Then it's onto Junin and Bottom Swell, but of course, thanks to beta, this is a non-issue. Then grab the third enemy skill materia in the beginner hall. It's largely useless to us right now since we don't have the ability to leave and learn some new skills, but at least now we have a third one. Then it's onto the ship and Genova can use the flamethrower, which we can hopefully learn on our third materia. But I'm an idiot and forgot to equip the third enemy materia, so I just murdered Genova with 4 betas. Now, we can just fast forward to the junkyard where we need to pick up the laser enemy skill from Deathclaws. We can also get Metro Magic here on our third enemy skill, but we're going to go get that later instead. Murderdyne, who actually took 2 betas to kill, which surprised me. Then once we get the buggy, it's time to learn Aqua Breath on all 3 materia from the Harpy down at the Chocobo tracks. Then we grab Big God from the beach plugs by using Manipulate on them, which is allowed for the purpose of learning enemy skills. Now use the buggy to cross back over to Costa del Sol and board the boat back to Junin. In the world map outside Junin, fight a Zemzalit and manipulate it to learn White Wind on our party. Next is Flamethrower for our third materia in the Mithril Mines, Beta from the Zalam, Level 4 Suicide from Moose and Chocobuckle, and lastly Metro Magic from Sweepers near Midgar. Now we have 3 enemy skill materia with all current available abilities on them, so it's time to head over to Cosmo Canyon. And before we fight the boss, we have to learn a new enemy skill, Death Sentence. Then on Ginatic, I put up Big God and use Aqua Lung, which does 0 damage. I try Laser and do 0 damage. So I try beta and it works. I was pretty sure that this boss absorbed fire. Oh well, I sit there spamming beta, red gets low on MP, but we still managed to take it out even though beta was only doing about 1000 damage a hit. So we move on into Mount Nebel, where we have the Materia Keeper. I set up Big God and wait for him to train me so I can get that on my materia. And then we spam Aqualung since it absorbs fire, so we can't use beta sadly. I didn't have the MP needed to actually kill him though, because of all the White Winds I had to use. Even without the White Winds though, I don't think I'd have been able to kill him. So we do a small grind since my health is pretty low right now anyway. Second attempt with more health and more MP, it goes much better. We get Trine nice and quickly and then take him out, only losing about 2000 health across my whole party. Palmer gets slapped with beta a few times. We can learn Frog Song in Temple of the Ancients, but I'm not going to focus on getting it here. If I do, great. If I don't, then we can just get it later. And then it's a fight with a big red dragon, who I might add really does not like Tifa at all. All of his attacks were focused on her, but Big God means we didn't take too much damage, and she likely would have survived without it while I aqualunged the boss. But Red Dragon isn't very difficult anyway. Instead, we have the true beast now, Demon Wall, and as I figured, I can't beat him. I'm doing 300 damage with my hardest hit, and he has 10,000 health. But once you factor in Big God and White Wind, I just don't have the MP or the damage to kill him. So we have 2 options. Firstly, grind for more MP and magic stat, or grind some fleas for Chocobuckle. And that's what I'm going to do. We're going to get Chocobuckle up to about 2,500 damage by fleeing from random fights. This way, it gets it a little stronger for if we get walled later, and it means we don't end up at level 80 right now. So, with a stronger Chocobuckle, he goes down in 4 hits. For Genova, I once again choose to use Chocobuckle after seeing that Genova does more than half my HP in a single hit. Although, we are kind of at that point of the game now. Then, we pick up Magic Breath from Stilver in Gaia's Cliff, and Bad Breath from Marlboros at Gaia's Cliff for our enemy skill materials, and then it's boss time. Schizo. One head absorbs fire and the other absorbs ice, but they both nullify gravity as well. So I Chocobuckle them one at a time. Each head has 18,000 HP though, and they do good damage. I start with Big God and spam Chocobuckle and using White Wind to keep my health up. Once each head dies, we take some nasty damage after all, so we need to be careful of their on-death attacks. At least Chocobuckle is cheap on MP, giving me plenty for White Wind, and eventually the boss goes down. Next up, a rematch with the lovely Genova. Such a sweet name, isn't it? So soul-soothing. Well, we set up Mighty God, use White Wind, and then make a Chocobo butt smash into her a few times for the win. Genova's never really a hard fight though, is it? And now, Meteor is summoned, I get blamed, Sapphire weapon attacks Junon, Cloud goes missing, etc. All the way until we fight Ultima weapon in Medial. But obviously, this is just a timed fight. He does do a lot more damage to me than I expected though, so I set up Big God and then just go pure defensive healing with White Wind. Then we have Carry Armor, and not only was he seriously trying to kill my party, he was also trying to kill me personally, when he nearly gave me a heart attack before I could even do anything. He dropped my entire party down to yellow health, resulting in some interesting clinching from places I didn't even know I had. After that, I managed to get Big God up and get a White Wind out, while the other two characters used Magic Breath, since it's good AoE damage. The arms go down on the second turn, at the same time my second White Wind fully heals me. At this point, I swap over to triple Magic Breath to get the win. Shame Magic Breath is going to be mostly useless on all future bosses. Rude at Rocket Town is a little more annoying though. He sets up Barrier as soon as the fight starts, and I set up Big God, and then Magic Breath to take out the trash mobs. Sadly though, it barely does anything to Rude, so I swap over to Chocobuckle to take him down. Sadly though, we can't Chocobuckle the next boss, Diamond Weapon, so we have to play it smart. I check out the damage with Magic Breath and Aqualung while also setting up Big God. Then I try Chocobuckle just to see if it would work, but of course it doesn't. So we need to play this smarter. Diamond Weapon has quite a lot of health, and so I need to conserve MP while also keeping Big God up, healing with White Wind and dealing damage. So I opt for Trine. It deals about 1,700 damage and only costs 20 MP. This means it's kinda spammable for me. And then, with him being weak to lightning, we take him down with half of our MP remaining. Of course, Rufus has to come in and kill Steel though. He totally get what he deserves. Not gonna lie, this is one thing I can't wait to see happen in the remake. Moving on into the destroyed remains of Midgar, we have the Turks in the train tunnels. Of course, we set up Big God and then Cry because they all absorb Magic Breath. Completely forgot each one absorbs a different element, so I try Beta to check the damage on it, but it's not very good, especially for that MP cost. I also throw out a Bad Breath to inflict poison on them. This way we get extra damage for free pretty often, and it hits for nearly 1,000 damage a tick. Then we break out the trusty Chocobuckle to smack Elena around with until she gets the other Turks to back off. This is the power of Chocobo ass. It scares everybody off. Now the calm before the storm. Proud Clod. With Big God up, this guy really isn't much to worry about. Odd white when needed here or there, but for the most part I use Chocobuckle to take out the armor and then finish the boss off with it. But it's really starting to show its weakness now, since it only does just under 3000 damage. Fights are really starting to take a while, and my AoE damage is basically non-existent, which is terrible considering the next boss likes to spawn mobs in. I am of course talking about the annoying Hojo. A 3-phase fight, and of course the mad scientist loves his statuses. I have my 2 ribbons on Cloud and Sid, then I set up Big God and again check the damage for Magic Breath before dying inside. So we bring back a classic Beta. It's not that strong, but it's AoE, which means it can work on Hojo's ads in the first phase. Then we move on to phase 2. I start off with Beta again to take out the arms before giving up on that, and moving to Chocobuckle on the main body. He does try to inflict some statuses on me here. Thankfully though, his target was Cloud and then Sid. The third phase, well, this is the least eventful. He just spams combo, a weak multiple hitting melee attack, so I spam Chocobuckle for 4 minutes straight. I didn't even need to reapply Big God. And with that, we can move on to the final dungeon. It's at this point as well I run around getting every enemy skill. The most annoying ones though are Shadow Flare, which we can pick up from Ultimate Weapon and Dragon Zombies, and Pandora's Box, which we only have a single chance in the whole game to learn. Dragon Zombie, again, is the only enemy with this skill, and no idea if it's just a bug or intended, but it will only ever cast this spell once per playthrough on the very first time you defeat one. This means if I have a character dead, I won't be able to learn it, so patience is required. During this little farming section as well, I worked on finally getting some HP and MP ready for Sephiroth, since honestly, I don't see myself winning. He just has way too much health and my damage is way too low. Once we have everything done, it's time for Genova, and we finally have some good attacks. They're extremely expensive for MP though, so now MP management is going to be quite difficult. Genova doesn't matter as we get to heal in a menu before Sephiroth, so I put a Big God and use Pandora's Box to see if it does more damage than Shadow Flare, since it ignores defense, but it doesn't. So Shadow Flare spam begins and Genova goes down in just a few turns. Like seriously, I barely lost any health at all. The power of Shadow Flare is amazing. If you don't know, it's the single strongest hit in the game. Yes, Knights does more damage, but it hits 13 times and has a couple other modifiers. But Shadow Flare even beats out Alexander and Bahamut Zero in terms of base damage alone. Now, onto Bizarro Sephiroth, and then Safer Sephiroth. I also can't heal between them, so I need to make sure I finish Bizarro off with as much HP and MP as I can. I start off with Pandora's Box to kill the arms, and of course set up Big God, then spam Shadow Flare. Bizarro really doesn't have much to worry about other than the MP drain that Shadow Flare causes. I do have Magic Hammer, but it's only 100 MP back a time. But after just a few turns, Bizarro dies. The body only has 40,000 health after all. Now, here we go. The final boss, Safer Sephiroth. And while I didn't go into the fight with full HP and MP, it can be considered a not a bad amount either. Now, in terms of stats, Sephiroth is actually at his weakest. Obviously, I can't use Knights of the Round, and I made absolutely sure not to hit level 99 as well. For anybody wondering, I'm level 90 and to 92 right now. This means he has nowhere near his maximum 400,000 health that he can have here. Now, I set up Big God for protection since he can deal a lot of damage very quickly. Then I use White Wind to fully heal and get some Shadow Flares out. But he set up M Barrier, so they're only doing 5,000 damage. once my characters get to about 500 MP as well, I start casting Magic Hammer. If he hits me with something like Supernova, I need to ensure I have ample MP for constant white winds on everybody. So I make it an absolute point to never drop below a few hundred MP, and during this process he uses Supernova. I have absolutely no idea how we survived the destruction of a galaxy, or how he did for that matter. In fact, why does he even need Meteor if he can just blow up all of existence anyway? So I spam White Wind on everybody because my health is low, and White Wind only heals by the amount of health you have. It's a slow and dangerous process to heal this way, but I manage to top off and get Big God back up and spam some more Shadow Flare while thinking about swapping over to Magic Hammer. But since his M barrier is now gone, I want to try and push for a ton of damage while I still have good HP and MP reserves. And at this point, he dies, and we did it. Game ends here. There's absolutely not a Force Omni / Ore counter coming up. So, can you beat Final Fantasy VII using only enemy skills? Yeah, and it's not actually too difficult. Some sections of the game are annoying, but once you get Beta and Aqualung, it's mostly a straight shot. So I can honestly suggest for you guys to try this challenge out yourself. It's pretty fun. But now though, I leave you with a question. What video do you think is coming next week? And remember, if you want to help support the channel and get early access to these videos, then come support me on Ko-Fi, linked down below, and follow my social medias, or buy our OnlyFans merch. And of course, make sure you subscribe. See you all next week.